What's up, YouTube? You're with BudgetMonk119, and I'm going to shoot a really quick, short video here today, but nonetheless, I hope that it is appreciated by those of you who enjoy this. Basically, I wanted to do a quick highlight video on the nation of Provence, and the reason is because at a glance, Provence can look very similar or comparable to a nation such as Savoy, Milan, Brandenburg, Saxony, many of the sort of more minor but yet not one province minor nations within Europe and for that matter near the empire, where aggressive expansion is going to be extremely hard to deal with. For that reason, and for the reason that they do not perhaps have extremely overpowered, some would say, ideas like Brandenburg, I think this nation is very often overlooked. Now, some people who, especially more experienced players, might understand that Provence has some things going for them. But what I would like to suggest is in a way, I mean, I have not consumed all of the information on, or videos for that matter, or anything on YouTube or social media, and I'm not 100% sure if other people have not talked about this. But I think that, in fact, Provence is an extremely powerful nation, and I'm actually going to talk about why. Now, your capital, unfortunately, I would say it is unfortunate, begins here. However, in the early game, especially if you're dealing with aggressive expansion and so on, it doesn't cost much to move your capital. It costs 200, and I suggest that you do move your capital to Provence. Alternatively, you can move your trading capital. But one reason that Provence is one thing that they have going for them is they have influence in what I would say is the best trading region in the game. Now, you have the option to join the Empire, as you are relatively small. You need 150 relations with Austria. With that being said, you'll notice that Austria begins friendly. But not only that, you begin allied to France. So this is basically the dream in terms of diplomacy that most smaller nations, like for example the Papal State, would probably be going for, right? Provence has obnoxiously good diplomacy. So that's the first reason why they're very strong. Second reason would be the trading scenario. You have the option to join the empire if that is your preference, and the way that you would do that is you first move your capital to Provence, and second of all, you add 2 provinces to the empire. This is going to allow you to expand into Italy without invoking the emperor's wrath, if that is your choice of action. Now, the reason, regardless of these two things, and regardless of the fact that their ideas are not that good, although they're quite interesting with the fact that they have 2 additional diplomatic relations. I actually don't know of another nation that has 2 additional diplomatic relations. That's pretty cool in the sense that you can have many, many relations. The real thing that, in my opinion, makes them genuinely extremely strong is the fact that you share dynasty with France. Now, because you begin allied to France, it is actually not difficult, and I'm speaking from experience, to max your relations with France, i.e. royal marriage him. And even if he desired your provinces, he's not going to break his alliance with you as long as you keep your relations high. Now, for example, take for instance the surrender of Maine event that fires. France will actually call you in to defend him. Now, if you walk around and even take provinces that don't even have forts on them and give the occupation to France, due to it being a defensive war, any contributions that you make to this war are actually going to give you favors at the end to France. You can easily get, 8 favors or so to France, who obviously is one of the more powerful nations in the game, just by nonchalantly participating in their war. It's almost inevitable that at some stage they will help you versus Aragon. I'm speaking from experience. I've seen really crazy things happen to where he's allied them, and within a short period of time, I'm able to break his alliance by attacking Aragon when he attacks Castile or something like that, and France won't back him up, and then being able to call France in against Aragon. I assure you, even if he's allied to Aragon, you might find he gets the Iberian wedding, and at that point he will help you against Aragon because Castile is the leader. But what I suggest, the tactic that you take, is moving your capital to here, expanding into Italy, you have many opportunities to many different nations in which you can actually attack, including Aragon and taking Italian culture provinces. I then suggest that you convert the provinces that you do own, including your capital, to an Italian group, and focusing most of your efforts on the Iberian Peninsula, but also Italy. You can then, if you convert your capital, you can switch to that Italian group, making Italian your primary culture, and given enough time, taking the appropriate provinces, you can form Italy. Now, Italy is obviously a very powerful culture group, but it becomes more and more powerful throughout the game as the independent nations develop, in particular, their capitals more and more. And you will find that if you do this, you have many opportunities. You have the opportunity, for example, to annex Brittany before he gets the increased coring cost. You can go colonial from here. You have many opportunities to go colonial. If you're really picky when you're fighting Aragon, you could sort of expand here. And perhaps using France against Castile, you could take here. You have colonial options. But again, what makes them extremely underestimated, in my opinion, or underrated, is the dynasty with France. The real dream, guys, obviously, needless to say, because you have the dynasty, what I'm trying to say is that you can PU France at some point. The real dream, what you're looking out for, is France having a weak claim. If they have an heir with a weak claim, this is going to allow you to claim their throne and then break your alliance with them, wait 5 years until your truce is up, and then go in against them. I'm talking later on in sort of the mid-game when you are very powerful in your own right. Therefore, inheriting a huge union over France, who, by the way, you could have fed, into the Iberian Peninsula. You can do all sorts, using him as an ally, kind of starting wars, expanding him into the HRE as an ally, offering him off provinces, and actually PUing a super mega France while you're focusing on whatever else that you like. Now, it is very likely, because of the fact that you share Dynasty, that you can PU him at some point throughout the game. And that, in my opinion, is why Provence is an extremely underrated nation. Again, the dream is they have a weak claim. You don't have to truce break, although I think probably in the mid to late game, especially if you have good diplomacy, like, for example, a big Russia or a big Commonwealth or something like that, and if you're not afraid of coalitions, then truce breaking is the way to go to get that union. But of course, again, to reiterate, you can join the empire. One thing you can do is actually go for an Italian emperor. That is an option if you wanted to go for a diplomatic game. You could, I don't think you could exactly reign in Italy, but what you can do is join the empire and then slowly but surely take over northern Italy. Once it has left the empire, you can add those provinces back in once you become the emperor. You could definitely go for a sort of Italian emperor game, integrating France at some point, adding it to the empire, blah, blah, blah. Provence is sick, really underrated, and I have thought many times of actually playing a sort of awesome game going for... switching to the Italian culture group. But of course, you can just integrate France and become France yourself. Somehow, doesn't seem as cool though when you actually flip to France. You think like, I should have just played France from the beginning. I would have been more powerful. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoy that. I just hadn't seen that many people talk about it myself. And I hope those of you who feel inspired to do something a little bit different and you want to play Provence, I hope you have a good game and best of luck.